The discovery. The ruins of Sanctuary 7 stretched across the horizon like the bones of a forgotten god. Chief archaeologist Vera Tulax moved carefully through the crystalline structures, her environmental suit's sensors probing the ancient atmosphere for any signs of danger. The planet's twin suns cast strange shadows through the translucent buildings, creating patterns that seemed to shift and move of their own accord. "Another dead end," she muttered, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence as she recorded her findings. For 3 cycles, her team had been excavating this site, hoping to understand why the predecessors had abandoned such an advanced civilization. The Galactic Concordat had declared Sanctuary 7 off-limits centuries ago, but Vera's research permit gave her unprecedented access to its mysteries. Her assistant, Crix, a young Centaurian whose blue-scaled skin shimmered in the dying light, called out from nearby. "Chief, you need to see this." The urgency in his harmonic voice made Vera's head frills twitch with anticipation. In a chamber beneath one of the crystal spires, Crix had uncovered something impossible. A door, perfectly preserved, bearing markings that made Vera's blood run cold. "This can't be," she whispered, running her sensor over the familiar symbol, a circular design with 2 parallel lines intersecting it. Human. The word itself seemed to make the air grow heavy. Humans were myths, bogeymen used to frighten children in the outer colonies. Stories said they had been warriors and builders, explorers and innovators who had vanished from the galaxy so long ago that most species doubted they had ever existed at all. Yet here was proof, hidden beneath millions of years of sediment and secrets. The door's control panel still hummed with power, defying both time and logic. Vera's hands trembled as she interfaced her Xenotech decoder with the ancient system. "Chief, the Concordat protocols are clear about human artifacts," Crix said nervously, his scales shifting to a pale green. "We should report this immediately." Vera's outer eyes fixed on her assistant, while her inner pair studied the door's mechanisms. "The Concordat also says humans never existed, Crix. Someone's been lying to us. Don't you want to know why?" The decoder chimed, and the door whispered open with a hiss of preserved atmosphere. Beyond it lay a chamber that would change everything. Holographic displays flickered to life, painting the crystalline walls with streams of data in a language long forgotten. But it was the central pillar that drew Vera's attention, a stasis pod, still active after all this time. Inside, perfectly preserved, was a human. By the first light, Crix breathed, his scales now almost white with shock. The stories were true. Vera approached the pod, her scientific training warring with primal fear. The being inside looked so similar to many humanoid species, yet distinctly different. Its skin was pale, its body wrapped in some kind of military uniform bearing insignias she didn't recognize. A message began to play, projected into the air before them. A human figure, different from the one in stasis, spoke in a language that Vera's universal translator struggled to decode. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. If you're seeing this, then humanity's gambit has paid off. We didn't lose the war. We chose to disappear. The entity that calls itself the Concordat is not what it seems. Find the others. Wake them up. The galaxy will need us again." The message repeated, echoing through the chamber as Vera tried to process its implications. The Galactic Concordat, the very foundation of modern civilization, was built on a lie. Humans hadn't vanished. They had hidden themselves away, scattered across the galaxy in places like this, waiting. But waiting for what? A sudden tremor shook the chamber, and warning lights began to flash across the holographic displays. "Chief," Crix called out, pointing to their perimeter sensors. "Multiple ships entering orbit. Concordat signatures." Vera's mind raced. They must have been monitoring the site all along. "Crix, help me with the stasis controls. We need to wake this human up." "What?" "Chief, that's against every protocol." "The protocols are lies." Vera snapped, her frills fully extended in determination. "Everything we know is built on lies. If we don't act now, we'll never know the truth. As Concordat dropships streaked through the atmosphere like falling stars, Vera worked frantically to decode the stasis pod's release sequence. The human inside began to stir as the preservation field weakened. Crix watched the security feeds in horror as heavily armed Concordat peacekeepers emerged from their vessels. "They're not wearing standard peacekeeping gear," he observed, voice shaking. "Those are execution squads." The stasis pod hissed open, just as the first explosions rocked the surface above. The human's eyes snapped open, brown, alert, and filled with an intelligence that made Vera step back. Despite centuries of hibernation, they moved with fluid grace, immediately assessing their surroundings. "You woke me," the human said in perfect modern Galactic, their voice rough from disuse. "Thank you. I'm Commander Jack Harper, and you're both in terrible danger." Another explosion, closer this time. Harper looked up at the shaking ceiling, then back to Vera and Crix. "There's a hidden hangar 2 levels down. If we hurry, we might just make it. Unless you prefer to stay and explain to the Concordat why you've uncovered their greatest secret." Vera looked at the data streams still flowing across the walls, at the truth she had spent her life searching for, and made her decision. "Lead the way, Commander." As they raced through the crystal corridors of Sanctuary 7, pursued by the enforcers of a lie that had lasted for centuries, Vera realized that she wasn't just running for her life. She was running towards something bigger. The galaxy was about to change, and she would be part of that change. The human myth had become reality, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Awakening. The ancient human vessel emerged from its hidden dock beneath Sanctuary 7's crystalline surface like a ghost breaking free from its tomb. Commander Jack Harper's hands danced across controls that hadn't been touched in centuries, yet responded as if they'd been maintained yesterday. Behind him, Vera and Crix watched in amazement as the ship's systems came alive, holographic displays filling the bridge with a soft blue glow. "The Avalon," Harper said, pride evident in his voice. "One of humanity's finest stealth vessels. She's been waiting here all this time, just like me." The ship accelerated smoothly through the atmosphere, its advanced stealth systems rendering it invisible to the Concordat forces still searching the ruins below. "They're activating orbital defense platforms," Crix reported, his scales shifting nervously as he monitored the sensor readings. "How can we possibly evade their entire fleet?" Harper's lips curved into a slight smile. "The Concordat built their defense network on top of ours. They never found all our backdoors." His fingers flew across the controls, inputting commands in sequences that made the ancient systems sting. "Hold tight." The Avalon suddenly accelerated, but instead of heading for open space, it dove toward the planet's northern pole. Warning signals blared as they approached the swirling storms that perpetually shrouded the region. Just as Vera was certain they were about to crash, reality seemed to twist around them. They emerged in completely different space, surrounded by unfamiliar stars. "Quantum tunneling," Harper explained, noting their shocked expressions. "The storms hide a network of quantum gateways. We used them to move our entire civilization when we initiated the Exodus Protocol." "But why?" Vera asked, her 4 eyes fixed on Harper. "Why did humanity disappear?" "The message we found mentioned a war. But against what?" Harper's expression darkened. "Not against 4. We discovered something the Concordat had been hiding since before they even formed their alliance. Something they would destroy entire civilizations to keep secret." He moved to a secondary console, bringing up a star chart that showed hundreds of points of light scattered across the galaxy. "We found the Cedars." The name sent a shiver through Vera's frills. Every archaeologist knew of the Cedars, the mysterious precursor race said to have seeded the galaxy with life billions of years ago. But they were considered myth, like the humans had been until today. "They're not extinct," Harper continued. "They're imprisoned. The Concordat is their prison, built by species they uplifted to serve as their jailers. When we discovered the truth, we had a choice. join the jailers, or find a way to free them. We chose freedom. Crix's scales had turned almost white. But why imprison them? What could be so dangerous about the species that created all life in the galaxy? Not dangerous, Harper corrected. Revolutionary. The Seeders believed in true freedom, including freedom from biological limits. They were developing ways to help species transcend their physical forms, to become something greater. The species that would become the Concordat feared this change. They feared losing control. The Avalon's sensors suddenly came alive with new signals. All around them, other ships were appearing. Human vessels emerging from similar quantum gateways, answering some silent call. "It's starting," Harper said, watching the fleet gather. "The awakening we planned for centuries ago." On the main screen, a new signal appeared, a transmission using frequencies that hadn't been used in centuries. The face that appeared was human, an older woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that burned with purpose. "This is Admiral Chen to all awakened vessels. The quantum network confirms multiple successful activations across the galaxy. The Concordat has discovered our sanctuary sites sooner than expected. Protocol Lazarus is now in effect. All ships proceed to Rally Point Omega." Harper acknowledged the transmission, then turned to Vera and Crix. "You've both risked everything by helping me. You deserve to know what comes next. We're not just running from the Concordat. We're going to expose their lies to the entire galaxy. But more than that, we're going to finish what we started centuries ago. We're going to free the Seeders." "And then what?" Vera asked, both fascinated and terrified by the scale of what she was hearing. "Then," Harper said, watching as more ships continued to appear around them, "we help create a galaxy where no species has to fear evolution or change. Where the Seeders' gift of transcendence is available to all who want it, not just those the Concordat deems worthy of control." The Avalon moved to join the growing fleet, its ancient engines humming with power that had laid dormant for centuries. Across the galaxy, other humans were awakening from their long sleep, emerging from hidden sanctuaries and secret bases. The myth was becoming an army, and the Concordat's carefully maintained order was about to face its greatest challenge. As Vera watched the fleet assemble, she realized she was witnessing more than just the return of a lost species. This was the beginning of a revolution that would reshape the very foundations of galactic civilization. The truth she had uncovered in those ancient ruins was just the first crack in a wall of lies that had stood for centuries. The awakening had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Resistance. Rally Point Omega turned out to be a massive space station hidden within the corona of a dying star. As the Avalon passed through the station's protective shields, Vera marveled at the engineering that had kept this facility secret and operational for centuries. The docking bay alone could hold hundreds of ships, and more were arriving every hour. Inside the station's central command center, Admiral Chen stood before a diverse gathering of both newly awakened humans and representatives from various alien species who had discovered the truth about the Concordat. Her holographic display showed a real-time map of the galaxy, with red markers indicating Concordat forces and blue ones showing confirmed human sanctuary sites. "The Concordat has already reached 17 of our sanctuary sites," Chen reported, her voice grave. "But they found empty pods. Our awakening protocols activated just in time." She gestured to a cluster of green markers. "More importantly, we're not alone in this fight anymore. Thanks to individuals like archaeologist Tulax and others who question the Concordat's official history, we have allies." Commander Harper stood at her side, adding, "The Seeders left us more than just technology. They left us a mission: to ensure that every sentient species has the right to choose its own path of evolution. The Concordat fears this freedom because they can't control it." A Nexian diplomat, their crystalline form catching the light, spoke up. "The Concordat's lies run deeper than even we suspected. They've been systematically suppressing technological and biological advancement across the galaxy, all while claiming to protect us from dangerous innovations. which is why we need to strike now, Chen declared. Our first target is the Concordat's primary archive on Centauri Prime. It contains proof of everything. The Cedars' imprisonment, the true history of humanity's exodus, and the genetic suppression protocols they've been using on every major species. The room erupted in discussion, but fell silent as alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. A tactical officer's voice cut through the chaos. Multiple Concordat warships emerging from hyperspace. They've found us. Chen's expression hardened. They're earlier than expected. Commander Harper, get the Avalon ready. Vera, Crix, your knowledge of current Concordat protocols could be invaluable. Will you help us? Vera's frills extended in determination. The Concordat buried the truth for centuries. It's time everyone knew what really happened. The station shuddered as the first Concordat weapons impacted its shields. On the tactical display, dozens of massive warships emerged from hyperspace, their black hulls absorbing light like cosmic predators. They'd brought the Sixth Fleet, someone muttered. The entire damn thing. But Chen was smiling. Perfect. Admiral Drake, are your ships in position? A new voice crackled over the comm system. Ready and waiting, Chen. Just like we planned centuries ago. Suddenly, the space behind the Concordat fleet lit up as hundreds of human vessels dropped their stealth fields, catching the enemy in a perfect crossfire. The battle that followed would be talked about for generations. The Avalon dove through the chaos, its advanced systems allowing it to dance between enemy ships. Harper's centuries-old tactical training proved devastatingly effective against modern Concordat formations. They weren't just fighting. They were implementing strategies developed specifically to counter Concordat technology, planned during humanity's long hibernation. Their ships are tied into a central command network, Crix observed, his scales shifting to match the tactical displays. If we could access it. Already on it, Harper replied, his fingers flying across the controls. The Cedars built backdoors into everything. The Concordat just copied their technology without understanding it. Vera, can you make sense of these command protocols? Vera's 4 eyes rapidly scanned the ancient Cedar code that was now flowing across her screen. These are similar to patterns we found in archaeological sites, but they're alive somehow. The code is adapting, evolving. That's what the Concordat feared most, Harper explained as he piloted through another barrage. Living technology capable of growth and change. They wanted control, predictability. The Cedars offered infinite possibility instead. The battle reached its climax as Harper, Vera, and Crix managed to transmit a cascade of ancient commands through the Concordat's network. One by one, their mighty warships went dark, their crews suddenly confronted with the truth as ancient Cedar programs activated in their systems, displaying evidence of the Concordat's centuries of deception. As the dust settled, Admiral Chen's voice echoed through all frequencies. To all Concordat forces, your leaders have lied to you. We are not your enemy. We are not a myth returned to destroy you. We are humanity, and we have returned to set everyone free. The Avalon sensors showed multiple Concordat ships powering down their weapons, their crews choosing truth over blind loyalty. But in the distance, more Concordat reinforcements were arriving. This was just the beginning. The archive on Centauri Prime is vulnerable now, Chen announced to the Resistance fleet. They've committed too many forces here. This is our chance to expose everything. As the fleet regrouped for their next mission, Vera watched the battlefield clear, thinking about how quickly everything had changed. In just days, she had gone from believing humans were myths to fighting alongside them against the greatest power in the galaxy. Having doubts, Harper asked, noticing her contemplation. No, Vera replied, her frills rippling with conviction. I'm thinking about all the other archaeologists out there, searching for truth in ancient ruins. After today, they won't have to search anymore. The truth is coming back to reshape the galaxy. The Resistance fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving behind a graveyard of deactivated Concordat ships and a wave of questions that would soon sweep across every civilized world. The Age of Lies was ending, and the real war for the galaxy's future was about to begin. The Revolution. Centauri Prime's orbital defense grid was supposed to be impenetrable. But as the Avalon and 3 other stealth vessels slipped through its supposedly perfect coverage, Harper couldn't help but smile. They built their security on top of our old networks, he explained to Vera and Crix as they approached the surface. Like building a fortress on quicksand. The primary archive rose from the capital city like a spire of black glass, its surface reflecting the light of 3 moons, while the main resistance fleet engaged Concordat forces in the outer rim, drawing away their military strength. This small team would strike at the heart of their power, their control over information. Remember, Admiral Chen's voice crackled through their secure channel. The archive's quantum mainframe contains everything. Proof of the Cedars' imprisonment, records of genetic suppression, and the true histories of 1,000 worlds. We only get one shot at this. The insertion went smoothly, almost too smoothly. Using ancient access codes and Vera's knowledge of current security protocols, they bypassed the archive's outer defenses. But as they approached the central data core, they found someone waiting for them. High Chancellor Voss of the Concordat stood calmly in the center of the room, his ceremonial robes seeming to absorb the light around him. "Commander Harper," he said, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. "We wondered which of our sleeping problems would wake first." Dozens of elite Concordat guards emerged from concealed positions, weapons trained on the infiltration team. But Harper didn't seem concerned. "You knew we'd come here eventually. You knew this day would come." "Of course," Voss replied. "We've spent centuries preparing for it. Did you think we wouldn't guard our greatest secrets? That we wouldn't protect the galaxy from the chaos you wish to unleash?" "Chaos?" Vera stepped forward, her frills extended in anger. "You mean freedom. The right of every species to choose its own path." Voss turned his attention to her, his expression almost pitying. "Ah, the archaeologist who started this particular cascade. Tell me, in all your digs, did you ever find a civilization that survived its own advancement? The Cedars offered unlimited potential, yes, and with it, unlimited capacity for self-destruction. That wasn't your choice to make," Harper countered. "You've suppressed development, controlled evolution, hidden the truth, all while pretending to protect people from myths and legends. We protected them from themselves," Voss thundered. "The Cedars' gift of transcendence nearly destroyed the galaxy once before. Their freedom would have meant the end of all organic life as we know it. We chose stability. We chose survival. You chose stagnation." A new voice echoed through the chamber. Everyone turned as a figure materialized in the center of the room. A holographic projection, but one so perfect it seemed solid. Admiral Chen's avatar stood before them, but she was different, changed. Her form flickered between human and something else, something that seemed to exist in more dimensions than the eye could process. "Impossible," Voss whispered. "The transcendence protocols were locked away by the very people who created them." Chen's voice resonated on multiple frequencies. "Humanity didn't just hide, Chancellor. We prepared. We underwent the very transformation you feared, but we did it slowly, carefully, learning to control and understand it. And now we're ready to show others the way." The guards' weapons suddenly deactivated, their advanced technology responding to commands they couldn't understand. Throughout the archive, ancient systems began to wake up, breaking through centuries of Concordat control protocols. "You see, Chancellor," Harper explained, as the building's quantum mainframe began transmitting its secrets to every corner of the galaxy, "we didn't come here to steal the truth. We came here to set it free." Across thousands of worlds, the carefully maintained illusion of the Concordat began to crack. Hidden transmitters activated, broadcasting proof of their deceptions. The genetic suppression programs failed as dormant seeder protocols awakened in the DNA of countless species, and in secure facilities across the galaxy, the imprisoned seeders began to stir. Voss fell to his knees as his own form began to change, the suppressed evolutionary potential in his genes finally expressing itself. "What have you done?" he gasped. "We've given everyone a choice," Chen's avatar replied. "The same choice you denied them for so long. The ability to remain as they are, or to take the next step in their evolution. To transcend their current limitations, not because they're forced to, but because they choose to." The archiv's security feeds showed scenes of transformation and revelation playing out across the galaxy. Some chose to remain as they were, while others embraced the change, their forms shifting into something new yet somehow familiar. It wasn't chaos. It was revolution in its purest form, each individual and species making their own choices about their future. "The age of control is over," Harper declared, watching as the last of the archive's secrets spilled out into the galaxy. "The age of transcendence begins." Vera and Crix stood witness to history unfolding, their own bodies tingling with the potential for change. The truth they had helped uncover wasn't just about the past. It was about the future, about the next great step in the galaxy's evolution. As the sun rose over Centauri Prime, its light fell on a changed world. The revolution wasn't fought with weapons, but with truth. And as humanity stepped out of legend and into history once more, they brought with them not conquest, but choice. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly the point. The Renaissance. 1 year after the fall of the Concordat, the galaxy pulsed with new life. The great archive chamber on Centauri Prime, once a vault of secrets, had been transformed into the Forum of Civilizations. Representatives from thousands of worlds gathered here, some in physical form, others as energy patterns or holographic projections, each having chosen their own path of evolution. Vera stood at the chamber's center, her form now a shifting matrix of light and matter that reflected her choice to partially transcend her original biology. Beside her, Crix had remained largely unchanged, choosing to enhance his natural abilities while maintaining his physical form. Together, they watched as Commander Harper, now Ambassador Harper, addressed the gathered species. "The age of enforced uniformity is over," Harper declared, his own form flickering between human and something more abstract. "For the first time in 50,000 years, every species is free to choose its own destiny. The Seeder's gift was never meant to be a prison, but a doorway to infinite possibility." In the years since the revolution, the galaxy had undergone changes that would once have seemed impossible. The freed Seeders, ancient and wise, had emerged from their prison not seeking revenge, but offering guidance. Their vast knowledge, combined with humanity's experience in managing controlled transcendence, helped prevent the chaos the Concordat had so feared. Some called it the end of civilization. Vera addressed the forum, her voice carrying the weight of someone who had witnessed history's turning point. Instead, it became a renaissance. Each species, each individual making their own choices about their evolution. Unity through diversity, not conformity. The great holographic displays showed scenes from across the galaxy. On some worlds, entire civilizations had chosen to transcend physical form, becoming beings of pure energy and thought. Others had found balance between biological and technological evolution, enhancing their natural forms while maintaining their original essence. Still others chose to remain as they were, their choice to stay unchanged respected equally with those who chose to transform. Admiral Chen, now more energy than matter, appeared in the chamber. The Concordat's greatest fear was that freedom would lead to chaos. Instead, it led to harmony. When every being has the right to choose their own path, they tend to choose wisdom over destruction. The evidence was everywhere. Trade between worlds had increased exponentially, as species shared their unique perspectives and innovations. The ancient Seeder technology, once locked away, now helped terraform dead worlds and heal environmental damage. Even space itself was being reshaped as transcended beings learned to create stable passages through dimensions that had once seemed impossible to navigate. Crix, who had become one of the leading xenoanthropologists studying this great transformation, spoke next. We've documented over 10,000 distinct evolutionary paths taken by various societies, each one unique, each one adding to the galaxy's tapestry of life. The diversity the Concordat feared became our greatest strength. A figure materialized next to them. Former High Chancellor Voss, his form now a complex pattern of light and shadow. His transformation had been among the most profound, as the very being who had once fought to prevent change became one of its most thoughtful students. I was wrong, Voss admitted to the assembled forum. We thought we were protecting the galaxy by controlling its development. Instead, we were strangling it. In trying to prevent chaos, we nearly prevented life itself from reaching its full potential. Harper nodded in acknowledgement. The relationship between former enemies had evolved into something more complex, more nuanced. The human myth served its purpose, he said. We became the catalyst for change because we were willing to take the time to understand it, to master it. But the story was never just about humanity. It was about all of us, about the right of every species to write its own legend. The forum chamber hummed with energy as beings of all forms shared their experiences, their hopes, their discoveries. The great archive that had once housed the Concordat's secrets now served as a library of transformation, documenting the myriad ways life could evolve when given the freedom to choose its path. Vera's consciousness expanded, touching the edges of transcendence while maintaining her connection to her original form. She remembered the ruins where this all began, how she had sought truth in the remnants of the past. Now, she helped write the future, documenting the greatest transformation in galactic history. The human legend ended. She addressed the forum, but the truth proved more remarkable than any myth. We learned that the most powerful force in the universe isn't technology, or transcendence, or even truth itself. It's choice. The choice to change or remain the same. The choice to learn from the past or break from it. The choice to become something new while honoring what we were. As the forum continued its discussions, ships of all designs carried news and innovations between the stars. The quantum gateways that humanity had used to hide now served as highways between civilizations. The galaxy hummed with life and possibility, each species and individual free to find their own place in the grand tapestry of existence. The age of enforced order had given way to an era of chosen harmony. The human myth had become truth, and that truth had set the galaxy free. Not to destroy itself, as the Concordat had feared, but to reinvent itself in countless beautiful ways. In the end, humanity's greatest contribution wasn't their technology, their survival skills, or even their mastery of transcendence. It was something simpler and more profound. The proof that change didn't have to be feared, that evolution didn't have to mean extinction, and that the greatest adventures begin when every being is free to write their own story among the stars.